My name is Caitlin Slack, and I'm here live in Bowling Green, Ohio, with a few questions on digital literacy with Nikki Chiricosta.
Hello.
Hi, Nikki. I just have a few questions. Do you mind answering for me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
awesome. What digital devices do you use?
I know how to use a lot of different devices because I grew up in a home where digital devices are really important to us. Like my dad told me that we were the first family on our street to have internet access, just because he's always been so involved in like trying to have the latest digital technologies, and obviously the internet is a big part of that.
Now, how do you use these devices in your social life?
Well, I would say that I use these devices in my social life because I use Facebook and Twitter all the time. I use Facebook to upload pictures from my college days, or I express my feelings over Twitter.
Do you think Twitter and Facebook, anything like that, is actually changing the way we're finding out about news?
I really do. I think that, that can be a good or bad thing. Like, for example, like the Joe Paterno thing. Everyone, even though he eventually did die, like, people started reporting that he died.
Yeah, I found out as well through Twitter. That was crazy.
Yeah.
What did you learn about digital technology at home?
Like I said earlier, I grew up in a home in which digital technology was really important. My dad is very interested in having all the different technology at home. But the funny thing is, I wouldn't consider him the most tech savvy person. Like, both of my parents still have the generic flip phones, and they refuse to get smartphones because they have no idea how to work them. Like, when texting came about, my parents had no idea what they were doing. I had to teach both of them how, and neither of them know how to use T9 words still. My dad sits there, it takes him 10 minutes to type out a text. He types it like this. Another thing I learned about at home, which is kind of an embarrassing story for me, but it was definitely a good lesson I learned. This one time I had a party at my house because my parents were out of town, and one of my friends posted pictures. And, I just had a few friends over, but, like, my parents trusted me not to have anyone over. And my mom ended up seeing the picture somehow on Facebook, and I was grounded for several weeks. And at that time, I was first exposed to the idea that posting pictures of parties is really stupid considering how many people have access to my profile.
I believe being athletes, we learn that like practically almost every day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Learn about our Twitters and our Facebooks and everything else that we have.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest lesson I've learned here at school. As a student athlete, if we post a picture, or if someone posts a picture with us holding an alcoholic beverage, my coach and my advisors have told me we can suffer severe consequences. It's not something that's taken lightly, and, I know future employers look at that, and I would never want them seeing that.
So in your everyday life, how do you use these devices?
I use these devices like constantly. I really don't think I could live without my cell phone or computer because I feel like it's my connection to the world. Like, if my cell phone breaks, I feel so out of touch, and I pretty much do everything on my digital devices as far as homework or checking the news or my social networks a few times.
How do you use these devices or software in your work life?
Well, the first time I used this device in my work life is when I was doing an internship with a woman who has a communication business. Essentially, she coaches people on how to communicate effectively, and my job as her intern was to basically do the grunt work for her and update her Facebook and Twitter. Due to the ever-changing nature of society, people like me now seek all their information on Twitter, and so she would update her statuses or her tweets so that she could gain more followers, thus, gain potential clients.
Right.
And I would post like inspirational, communicative messages to people who could be potential clients.
That's awesome. Now, what are your weaknesses, would you say?
Well, I would say that overall I'm pretty digitally literate, but my biggest weakness would probably be when it comes to my TV back at home. I don't know if any of you or if you have the same problem, but we literally have 5 different remotes at home controlling so many different components of the TV. Like, I can never keep straight which remote works to turn on the TV or what input to set the TV at, and it just all kind of overwhelms me, and I don't know, I can never, like, retain it, and it's just like, why can't it just be one remote?
You learned over the last couple of years about technology, and where do you see technology going in the future?
Oh, okay, two-part question.
Yes.
Um,
Can you handle it?
yes, I can.
I mean, I understand you're blonde and all, so these questions get really difficult.
Right,
I
yes.
can relate.
Yeah, I know.
Again.
Well, I learned about technology from my dad. I mean, I can remember my sixth Christmas, excuse me. My dad left a note for my siblings and I with directions on how to find our last gift. And after going through several instructions, we found a box with our first computer in it. And we just quickly learned a lot about technology from that point on. Like, obviously, at a young age, we were exposed to technology with this computer.
Where do you see technology going in the future?
Oh, right. In the future, honestly, I think as far as college is concerned or school, I think that we're going to be rid of textbooks. I think everything is going to become online. Like, all books will be online, and I just think technology is going to be over our heads. Like, I think our refrigerators are going to be talking and just everything. Like, I can't even predict what's going to happen.
How do you present yourself via Facebook and Twitter?
Well, I really try to present myself in the way that I keep my audience in mind. I mean, I make sure that I post statuses or tweets that I wouldn't mind my coach or my parents seeing. Like I said earlier, I've been warned by my coach and people in the athletic department that, what you post, people are going to see because it's public.
Right. And growing up, were you a big fan of like the whole AIM scene or the Yahoo Messenger?
Yeah, like I lived for AIM. My entire freshman year, I would stay up all night and pull all-nighters with my best friend. It sounds really juvenile, but we would play the rating game, and we would like name someone and they'd rate them on a scale of 1 to 10. And AIM was definitely the cool thing to do in my high school years, and kind of miss it.
So you mentioned earlier that you do have a Twitter.
Yes.
So what would your Twitter name just happen to be?
My Twitter name is Nicki Minaj 02.
That I like that. It has a nice little kick to it.
Thanks.
It's not like those plain names where it's just your name.
Thanks. Follow me, people.
Oh, and then you should follow me at Don't Hate Kate. All right, so you said your Twitter name was Nicki Minaj 02. Now, what does your name describe you in any type of way, or what does it mean?
Well, I'd say it just kind of shows my humorous side, and the meaning behind it is one of my friends started calling me that as a joke, and he asked me on his phone as that, and then like all of his friends started calling me it, and I had a really boring Twitter name before, so I figured I'd just spice things up a little bit.
So, are you a big tweeter?
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm a big tweeter, but I tweet probably every other day or so.
All right, what type of things do you tweet about?
Honestly, I usually tweet about sports, particularly Cleveland sports.
How do your digital literacies compare with your peers in class, at school, or even work?
I would say that my literacies are pretty comparable. I mean, I think that a lot of my classmates can relate to just growing up in a society where being digitally literate is almost necessary. But I would say that maybe some of my literacies even exceed their capabilities just because I was exposed to it at such a young age.
What digital literacies do you think are important and why?
I think that being able to use a computer is the most important digital literacy, and I think that because almost anything you can think of is available online, and if you don't know how to use a computer, I feel like you're falling behind. I feel like most jobs require that you're somewhat digitally literate, and while many people say, excuse me, I also think that cell phones are very important. And while many people say that they could live without them, I think that they're a vital technology because of how many things you can do on your cell phones.
What role did Access play in the development of your digital literacies and identities?
I would say that Access played the biggest role because, as I said earlier, my dad, purchased a lot of digital things, and I was exposed at a very young age.
Why do you represent yourself in certain ways on social media sites?
Well, as I said earlier, my first priority right now is that I'm a student athlete. And so I present myself in the manner that I'm representing Bowling Green State University athletics, and I want to be remembered that way.
That's very smart. How do you give access to your identity?
I try to keep my identity somewhat private because honestly, there are so many creepy people in this world that happen to request you. So I update my privacy settings on Facebook and Twitter so that I will accept people who I know and I will deny anyone that I don't know.
Why do you give access to certain people but not others?
Because, just like I said, I give access to the people that I trust. And if I don't trust them, there's no need for them to be having access to my information.
Well, I really enjoyed this interview, and I feel like I've learned a lot about you. And I'll be sure to follow you on Twitter.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Kate.
Enjoyed it. My pleasure.